Well, hopefully this is working. Hello, everybody. Just waiting to make sure I don't have another. I usually have another device. Oh no, I do have another device. I can check on my other device. 1 second. My other device only has 29%. Let me know when you're in the chat. Let me know when anybody's here. Welcome to my monthly live stream. We'll get started in a second. Just give people a bit of time to arrive if anybody's going to. Maybe nobody will today. Maybe nobody will be here. And I'll just be talking to myself. I do that a lot anyway. I'm going to make sure I'm on. Let's see. Where are we? YouTube. Say hi in the chat if you're here. And there we go. Dark Corners UK. Howdy, how do you do? Welcome to the live stream. I'll be getting started in a few minutes. Just give people a bit of time to arrive. Oh, did I post that on Twitter? Did I post the link on Twitter again? No, I didn't hit tweet. There we go. Post a link on Twitter. That will help. Hey, Jace, how you doing? Hope you're well. Today we're going to be talking about the Doctor Who 60th anniversary trailers. Trailers? Not trailers. There aren't trailers. It's over a year away. There are not trailers. It's a year and a half away. There are no trailers. But there are rumours. I'll talk about those. Probably completely baseless rumours, but I like the sound of them. So, yay. Hi, Will. How you doing? Will says, thoughts on season 1 and 2 of the EDAs going out of print this week. Oh, this is the 8th Doctor Adventures. The Lucy Miller and 8th Doctor Adventures on Big Finish. Yeah, I like them. Thoughts that they're going out of print. That's sad. I've got them all already, so I'm okay. I don't have to panic buy any. I've got them all already, so that's okay. Shame that they're going out of print. I really do like the Lucy Miller and 8th Doctor Adventures, but which series of them do I like best? That is a good question. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've listened to them. Maybe we should give them all a re-listen. At some point, I need to do a massive re-listen to everything 8th Doctor, starting sort of chronologically at the beginning, which I think, in terms of Big Finish stuff, is the Mary Shelley stuff, I think. You're only missing Phobos, the only one from season 1 they didn't have. Oh, that sucks. It sucks when they don't have the one you want in a sale, doesn't it? Hi, Doctor Who's Magical Entertainment. How you doing? I was going to check I'm live, but clearly I am because people are talking to me. So, yeah. We can get your thoughts in about all of the topics. We can talk about anything. If you've got anything pop culture wise that's been on in the last week, we can talk about that as well. But the 3 things I was going to talk about today were the 60th anniversary rumours that are going around for Doctor Who. Picard season 2 episode 1, which I have seen today. In fact, about half an hour ago. I know that's not out for my fellow UK people officially yet, so if you haven't seen it, don't worry, I'll keep the spoilers light, but I understand if at that point you might want to log off for a little while. And I'm also going to talk about Peacemaker, the spin-off from the Suicide Squad movie, which I've watched this week and binged it over 2 days because it was so good. And I'm going to talk about that as well because I loved it. Chris Bailey says, are you okay? I look very tired. I am very tired. Yeah, I've got big bags under my eyes, haven't I? I haven't been sleeping very well. But I don't know why. I mean, if you ever want to get smart lights for your house that are hooked up to, a smart speaker or whatever, just be aware that sometimes if the internet goes down, you can't turn them off. Because 2 nights ago, you see them in the back of my videos. Those shelves that I have in the back of my video with all my Doctor Who DVDs on, I've got nice LED lights on them. The plug is right down the back. I can't reach it. And they're controlled by voice commands to my smart speaker. And they're right next to my bed. I could not turn them off because our internet was playing up. So all throughout the night, I had this bright white light just next to me throughout the whole night, which really disturbed my sleep. So yes, I am a little tired. Oh, yes. So Jace can't wait for Picard tomorrow and also Discovery. Yes, I've seen both today via means. But I will talk about Picard. I'll try and keep it relatively spoiler free. I've got my Discovery review up already, so if you when you do watch Discovery, please go and see that. But a housekeeping first, then, actually, because I'm not going to be doing weekly Picard reviews, which I did do last season, and I have been doing for most Star Trek shows. I didn't do it for Prodigy, but I have been doing it for Lower Decks. I have been doing it for Discovery, and I did do it for last season for Picard. The reason I'm not is a few different reasons. I'm kind of reassessing how I do weekly reviews and whether or not I'm going to continue them in the same format anymore. That's for multiple reasons. Algorithm stuff, also just my own enjoyment. It kind of, knowing I have to go straight upstairs and review it, kind of saps out some of the entertainment out of watching it. So I'm just assessing that. No final decisions yet. But also, I'm sending my laptop for a repair tomorrow. So just the timing of it wasn't right. I did my Discovery review today. I don't know if I'm going to get the Discovery review out next week. It depends when my laptop comes back. And I just thought, oh, well, I'll give Picard reviews a miss, but I will talk about it on the stream today so that I can get my general thoughts of episode 1 out at least. Oh, hey, Will, thanks for the super chat. £5 super chat there. Also, all the box sets are now in multi-disc cases instead of individual cases. This is talking about Big Finish again. R.I.P. the individual cases. The Ninth Doctor Adventures were good too. Yeah, I do miss the individual cases for the artwork especially, but also when you got boxes that where I like to keep my Big Finish shelves in roughly chronological order in terms of when stuff happens to the Doctor. So I have split up box sets before, especially the classic Doctor's New Monsters box set. I've taken them out of the case and I've put them in individual places for each story. And you can't do that with the new style of boxes. So where they take place at different points in the Doctor's life, like I probably would have broken up the Paladin set, but I can't. So, and I would have placed where each Doctor was in their timeline. But instead, it shall have to stay separately on my shelf away from the main Doctor timeline section. So, yeah, I too miss those things. But the plus side of the new cases is that they do save space. And I have completely run out of Big Finish storage space now on the shelves. I've started piling them up on the floor next to it. I'm going to have to put some away in storage. I've just run out of room. I have nowhere else to put Big Finish, and I'm continuing to buy them. I buy all 8th Doctor stuff on physical CD. I buy all Gallifrey stuff on physical CD. Is there any others? War Doctor and 9th Doctor on physical. So, yeah, it's a shame about that. Oh, Jace, you don't mind some spoilers. That's okay then. Stick around when we talk about that. Doctor Who's Magical Entertainment says, I'm going to talk Doctor Who. I'm getting Doctor Who, the complete David Tennant collection Blu-ray for my birthday. It was my birthday on Tuesday. Happy birthday! I hope you had a good one. And the complete David, is that a, I've not seen that. Is that a UK thing, or is it a US thing, or somewhere else in the world thing? I don't know if I've seen that. Will also says the Tennant Blu-ray is an Amazon. Oh, there we go. Will answered my question. Amazon exclusive, an American exclusive. Sorry. Make sure your Blu-ray player is region free, unless he's in America. This say he could be anybody. Doctor Who's Magical Entertainment might be in America. Who knows? If you are, let us know what time it is. Right. Other bits of housekeeping I was going to do before I started. So yeah, laptop. Videos changing, weekly reviews might change. It's all a bit in review at the moment. I haven't made any firm decisions. Don't forget to, if you're watching this, just click the like button. It really helps out. And I will try and get through as many of the chats as I can. Usually I can do most of them. I might miss the occasional one. If you want to be absolutely certain that your message is read out, you could always do a super chat like Will has done. You don't have to. I don't expect it, but it will. And I will probably get to your message anyway. But it absolutely guarantees it if you do want to do that. And the last thing before we get into the segments that I was going to do is that I'm going to the BFI on Saturday. So to watch Revolution of... No, not Revolution. That's the modern one. Which one is it? One of the Colin Baker Dalek one. I've forgotten what it's called now. Hold on. I've got it. I think I've still got the Revelation of the Daleks. That's it. I'm going to see that at the BFI on Saturday. So if you're there, if anybody's there, I'll be there. Do come and say hi if you see me. And I might do a bit of a live stream afterwards, because I tend to do these live from the BFI live streams after the thing from the bar afterwards, where I get out my handheld phone and just do a bit of an impromptu live stream and chat to whoever's around at the bar that's come out of it and see what people think about it. So I'll try and do a bit of that. It won't be as extensive as it usually is, because I'm going to have my daughter with me. So I don't want to have to drag. She won't want to be dragged around the bar interviewing loads of people. So it'll be a much smaller live stream, but I might do something. I've scheduled it, but if it doesn't happen, that's just apologise in advance. So yeah, what's going on in the chat before I start talking about the 60th anniversary? Jay says, I hope there is new Red Dwarf. I too hope there is new Red Dwarf. Obviously, I've got a Red Dwarf podcast. If you haven't listened to it, it's called Everybody's Dead Dave. Check it out. Yeah, I'd love a new episode. I reckon they're going to stick with the specials, but who knows? Chris Bailey says, just worried the guys are getting to the point where they can't be bothered with it anymore. Oh, what? Red Dwarf? Oh, no, I don't think so. I think they're still pretty enthusiastic about it. They did that. I mean, that special they did, I think they put it all into that. I think if they keep it, I don't think they're necessarily up for doing whole series anymore, but I do think they are up for doing the occasional special, let's say, once every year or once every couple of years. So good. Yep, that's fine. And I spoke to Craig Charles a couple of years ago now. This is way before The Promised Land. It was maybe 4 years ago. I met Craig Charles and talked to him about it, and he seemed very enthusiastic about doing more. So I don't think he can't be bothered with it. I think it's still a very important part of his life. Oh, Jace is asking about the writers who have fallen out. Grant, the original writers, Grant and Naylor, Doug Naylor, and I can't remember Grant's first name, something Grant. They did have some. Well, they stopped working together around after Series 6. I think it was Series 6. So Series 7 is all Doug Naylor and guest writers, and basically from then on, it's Doug Naylor running the show, and Grant isn't involved anymore. So I think they've had that might be delaying. I think some rights issues around that might be delaying it, but there we go. Well, yeah, the thing you're thinking of, Jess, might be the rights issues. They have had I think there's some rights issues around the fact that they both kind of claim ownership on it, but it hasn't stopped them in the past, so I don't know what might happen there. Anyway, let's talk about the 60th anniversary Doctor Who special. I'm sure any Doctor Who fans out there, which probably most of you are, statistically most of my viewers are Doctor Who fans, because that's what I do the most videos on, although I haven't done that many recently. I do apologise. I'll have to get back to the Doctor Who videos. Yeah, we're going to be excited about the 60th anniversary, aren't we? Russell T Davies is returning. It's an anniversary special, but we don't really know anything about it yet. Nothing concrete other than Russell T Davies is back. Some of the other producers are back. Phil Collinson, obviously the people that owned Bad Wolf were the original exec producers on it, alongside Julie Gardner and other one that I can't remember. So they're all basically the original team. The original producing team is back, but that's kind of all we know. We don't even know any dates. We don't even know if we're having to wait until the November and for anything that year, or we're going to get stuff in advance. But a recent rumour, originally published in The Sun, might indicate that we're going to get something before that 23rd of November date, that we might have leading up to it a series of specials featuring multiple past Doctors. That's quite exciting. I'm excited about the prospect of that, but I think we do need to take it with a pinch of salt because it's not very likely. And part of the reason I think that is because if you look at the original article in The Sun, which I'd go via a third source personally. You don't want to look at The Sun. Don't give them the clicks. But they go on a lot about Chris Eccleston. I don't think Chris Eccleston is going to come back. Do you? I mean, he left on bad terms. We can talk a bit about that in a minute. But the basic rumor is that it headlines with kind of David Tennant and Matt Smith are coming back because they're the big names, I guess. Tennant particularly is the name that the show keeps on going back to. So, we've seen him in comics, we've seen him in audios, we've seen him. They like going back to Tennant. He was the Doctor during the most popular era of the show in the modern era, anyway, at least. So he's kind of like the Tom Baker equivalent for New Who. Even into like the 90s, if you spoke to people about Doctor Who, they would think Tom Baker, even though you'd had Peter Davison, Colin Baker, and Sylvester McCoy after him, and Paul McGann, of course, in the mid-90s. So they're focusing on Tennant. But the rumor and the article goes into about the fact that they say that there's going to be a series of specials. And that sounds like an idea that I think would work quite well. Think about it. You've got, how many living Doctors have you got? You've got Tom Baker. You've got Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy. You've got, wait, I've lost count. that's 4, isn't it? Sylvester McCoy, Paul McGann, Christopher Eccleston. Again, don't think that's likely, but we'll come back to that in a minute. Christopher Eccleston. You've got then David Tennant, Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi, Jodie Whittaker. That's 10. That's a series worth. If they each had an episode where it wasn't a multi-Doctor crossover, but it doesn't. The rumor itself doesn't go into details. This is my own speculation. But what they could do is have a series where each episode focuses on a different Doctor, culminating in the big 60th anniversary special, where maybe it is a multi-Doctor story with all of them. Now, a lot of them do look very different, and how they've addressed this in the past is, with Peter Davison in Time Crash, the little mini-sode, they had a reference to, TARDIS as being in the same place, it shorting out, they gobbledygooked their way out of it. For Tom Baker in the 50th, they just had him play a different incarnation. He wasn't playing the 4th incarnation. He was playing a future incarnation who called himself the Curator. But I think they'll want to, if they do go down this route, stick with having them play their versions of the character. So how do they do that while having them look different? It's not like they haven't done it before with Patrick Troughton in The Two Doctors. He had grey hair and he never had grey hair in the TV show. So they had him. He obviously looked older in that and they just didn't mention it. They could do that. I hope they don't do that though. What I think they should do here is have the whole series be effectively in the Doctor's head. So each episode, this is the Doctor maybe mid-regeneration, where they have it, something's gone wrong with the regeneration, they're having trouble regenerating, so inside their head you have basically all of these Doctors acting as kind of guides, or maybe they have an episode where in their head they are back to being that Doctor, and it can be an older version of that Doctor or whatever. And then and you get to the multi-Doctor finale on the 23rd of November, and they solve whatever the problem is, and that's when we get the regeneration into the 14th Doctor. That, I think, could be an interesting way to go. But would it happen? I don't know. Because you got to think, who would actually return? I mean, and who would they want to return? I mean, as fans, I'm sure we would love an episode with Colin, an episode with Sylvester being the Doctor again. But from a marketing perspective, from a bringing in new people, which a new era is going to want to do with Russell in charge again, are they going to want to do that? I don't know. Tom Baker would probably return. He'd probably be happily return. But he is quite old now. How involved could he be? He's not going to be able to do any heavy action scenes, certainly. So, I don't know. His role in his episode would have to be less. I mean, a lot of them are quite old now. You got Peter Davison, he would probably return. You got Colin Baker, also would return, I suspect. Sylvester McCoy has recently returned, as in promotional material for the collection. So, yeah, he'd probably return. And I hope that Paul McGann would return. He returned for the 50th for the Night of the Doctor, so why not? And that is the one that I would be most excited for, because I love a bit of Eighth Doctor, as you probably guessed from me talking about the fact that I get every Eighth Doctor audio on physical CD. So, yeah, I would hope that he would be up for returning. Where we get into trickier ground is with the new ones. Christopher Eccleston isn't returning. Let's be honest, guys. He's not returning. His whole falling out with the production team was with this production team that's coming in to take over. You've got, it's not just, you could have said, oh, well, maybe it was somebody else, one of the other producers that, he referenced about having conflict with the producers. Maybe it wasn't Russell. But the problem is, Phil Collinson is also returning, as are the other two producers that were producing at the time. Everyone is returning. It's the same team. So the chances of him coming back in this era at all, I think, are zero. Maybe they can do something with some old footage. That's kind of how they used him in the 50th. They just got a bit of audio and a clip from the old, but you're not going to be able to do the whole episode of him there. Now, they might surprise us. They might have offered him a whole load of money and really surprise us, but I really just don't think that's likely. I would love to see it happen. I'd obviously love to see it happen, but I don't think that one's likely. David Tennant, absolutely, he'll be back in a flash. I mean, he's done Big Finish, he's done computer games recently, he's done lots of, he just randomly pops up in Big Finish stuff for 2 lines sometimes. He'll just return to the character at any point. So I think whatever happens, even if this idea doesn't happen, I think there is a very strong possibility that David Tennant will be in the 60th anniversary, whatever form that takes. There was a photo recently that went on social media where he'd recently dyed his hair back because he'd been in Good Omens again, so he'd had his hair red for season 2 of that. And I think Georgia Tennant posted a photo before and after him getting his hair dyed back to brown. So, the colour, he has it as the Doctor. So I think there's probably a high chance that he's going to be in whatever the 60th takes. BBC marketing will want it. Fans will want it. He'll want it. He's going to be in it. Then you got Matt Smith. I think Matt Smith's a possibility. He's... I think I was watching, in preparation for this, I was watching a few other videos on this subject about these rumours. I was watching Mr. TARDIS's stream segment about it, and he was mentioning that Matt Smith had said that he had left too early, maybe, and that he would wish he could just do the occasional Christmas special or something. So I think he would be willing to come back and do it. Especially, he's done some great stuff since. He's done The Crown, he's been in a few movies, he's in that Morbius film, but nothing's really taken off in a big way for him. So I don't think his career is at a point where he's going to be, oh my God, I can't, I'm too busy. I think he would And enough time, I think, now has passed for him to go, yeah, I'll step back in for an episode. Why not? I think he would do that. So he might be in it. Maybe we'll just have those two. Who knows? Peter Capaldi is another one which I don't think is likely just because of the things he said. Obviously, he didn't have any kind of falling out like Christopher did, but he hasn't had... He's made comments before, negative comments about coming back too soon, coming back for multi-doctor specials. He thinks multi-doctor specials are cheapen the more you do them, and that's a fair point. If you do them too often, they become less special. So he might think it's still too soon for him. 2017 to 6 years, maybe he thinks that's too soon for him to come back. Maybe he's waiting. I mean, the thing that might tempt him to come back is he is a massive fan, so to be involved in an anniversary special might be tempting for him. He was a fan as a kid. He grew up as a Doctor Who fan, so that might be something. But I don't know. He's a possibility, but I think out of the... He's not as likely. I mean, he's definitely not as likely as David Tennant. I don't think he's likely as Matt Smith. Then we've got Jodie. Now, that would be an interesting one, because technically she would have left the episode before. Will she be somebody who goes, no, I can't return that soon? But then again, Matt Smith also returned the very next episode after he left, remember, with that telephone call. It was only one quick scene, but he was there. So it's not like it's not been done before. And if they do this idea of having multiple doctors and having an episode each, that could be an interesting thing to end it on. It would be like 9 episodes of her not being in it, and then suddenly there's an episode of her. So I think she would do it. I suppose there's also the possibility that we might get the Roof Doctor, the Fugitive Doctor, have an episode as well. And frankly, anybody could jump in as an extra doctor at some point if they wanted to do random episodes with random people. They could do that as well. So, yeah, I don't think this is a rumour that has much validity. For starters, it comes from The Sun, which isn't particularly a respectable newspaper. But also... But I like the idea of it, and that's probably what these rumours rely on. I like the idea of it. What do you guys think? I'm going to have a scroll through the chat here. Let me know in the comments below as well afterwards if you're watching this on playback, or what you think of this. And you know, is it a good idea? Would you want to see this, or what would you want to see instead? Let me know. I'm going to scroll a little bit back up in the chat. Sorry if I miss any. A few people saying hello. What did I get up to last? Doctor Who's Magical Entertainment lives in the UK. So are you buying the American Blu-rays? Is that what you're doing? Have you got a region-free Blu-ray player? Stylish One says hello. Hello. Lucia... DWHP and Animal Lover. Hello, sorry I joined late. I'm guessing that's Doctor Who, Harry Potter, and animals are the three things you love most. Chris Bailey is very much the new Tom Baker. This is David Tennant. Yep, absolutely. He is the modern era's, you know, it's what people think of when they think of Doctor Who. If you ask somebody to name a Doctor Who, depending on how old they are, they're either probably going to name Tom Baker or David Tennant. I would name Paul McGann because he's my favourite. But, you know, statistically, most people probably would name one of those two. Stylish One. So, how is Star Trek Discovery Season 4 overall? We'll talk about Star Trek in a bit. I'll come back to that. You stopped watching it after Season 3. Will Newlands give us Paul McGann special with India Fisher in the Dark Eyes outfit? Yeah. I mean, that would bug my continuity brain. If Paul McGann is in the Dark Eyes outfit, but with India Fisher, who he wouldn't have been in the Dark Eyes outfit with, that would slightly bug my continuity brain. I'll get over it, I guess. Doctor Who's Magical Entertainment, David Bradley as 1, Michael Troughton as 2, and John Coleshaw as 3. Yeah, you could do. I don't know if in live action, John Coleshaw does an amazing 3. as a voice. I'm not sure I could see him being the visual representation of 3, although I'm willing to be proved wrong. Wigs can do amazing work, but I'm not sure about that one. You know who I think loads of people would love to see play the Third Doctor is Sean Pertwee, John's son, who is like the spitting image of him facial features wise. And he in some roles, I mean, a lot of the time he doesn't sound like his dad, but I have heard him in roles. I worked with him once on a radio drama, and he was playing the Marquis of somewhere, Marquis, whatever you pronounce it. It was like, I think it was might have been about Oscar Wilde or something. Anyway, he was playing this like lord type person, and the voice he did for that sounded so much like John Pertwee. It was like listening on the headphones. It was like I was in the room with John Pertwee. It's really weird. And I did mention it to him afterwards that he sounded so much like his dad there. Stylish One says Colin Baker is the curator then. Yeah, the curator. He is being cast as a new version of the curator in Doctor Who Stranded 4. Amazing. Looking forward to seeing it. Are we going to have a curator regeneration, or is he just going to show up having already regenerated? Don't know. Intrigued to see what's going on there. Colin is in a Big Finish release every month from January to May and then July to September, if you include February's Blake 7 book. Yep, it's the year of Colin Baker in Big Finish. Lucia says, I think that's a better idea, as if 10 keeps getting brought back, people will always expect him back in multi-doctor specials. Also, on Tennant's wiki, he's got 5 things under TBA, 1 film and 4 shows. He is a busy man, and yet he still makes time for Doctor Who stuff. He's probably the busiest of all the past Doctors, and yet he still somehow managed to find time for the Doctor Who stuff. He's just a massive fanboy as well, isn't he? It's really good. The Stylish One says, if they bring back some of the older Doctors, are we going to get more season blank B theories? It could happen. Did you write blank there, or is that some kind of censoring thing going on that YouTube is doing? It could be either. I like the season 7B theories. We could get more of that. That also does, it actually is a theory that explains Patrick Troughton's white hair that I was talking about earlier. Have you heard the anthology audio Circular Time? It's very similar to the idea you're describing, so I think you'd enjoy it. I haven't. I don't think I have. Circular Time? Is that a Big Finish? Is it? I'm going to Google it now. Let me see. Is this a Doctor Who thing? Time Doctor Who. Sorry, my keyboard is in a really awkward place with my microphone right in front of it. Audio anthology. There we go. Okay. Circular Time was the 91st Big Finish release of their monthly range. 4 stories written by and featured Peter Davison. So they all feature Peter Davison. So it's not, I suppose it's not quite the same. But, yeah, cool. Yeah, I mean, I guess, okay, they would set at different times of the year. Spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Yeah. No, I haven't heard that one. I haven't delved much into the main range, really, other than the 8th Doctor stuff. So I buy the occasional one in the sale for download only, but I'm spending so much on just the ranges I already buy. I can't afford to buy loads more. Phil Newlands with a super chat of £5. Thank you. Well, sorry, did I say Paul? Will Newlands. That's right. I said Paul because you're talking about Paul. Didn't Paul meet Charlie in Ravenous 3? Dark Eyes outfit works. Only said Dark Eyes as I doubt Paul could pull off the TV movie. Oh, are you referring to the episode where a load of his companions got kidnapped from various points in the 8th Doctor's life, got kidnapped and imprisoned, and Charlie was one of them? I'm trying to remember, does he ever actually meet her. I don't think they ever actually meet up, and they definitely don't travel together again at that point. I don't know, but she is still out there, so maybe, I mean, I suppose you could do it. You could have it that for him it's taking place, years after he thought she had died, but he discovers that she didn't die again. So you could have him in the outfit because it's set after all of the Dark Eyes stuff, and then he just meets up with her again and finds out that she's still alive because she's off. Well, she had her in spin-off series working for the what were they called, the Vivarians or whatever it is. I lost my place in the chat. Where would I get up to? If they bring back some of the older Doctors, are we going to get more? Oh yeah, well, I read that one. Secular Time. What about Dark Corners UK says, what about bringing in Sean Pertwee as version of 3? I'm guessing you wrote that before. I'm still catching up on the chat, but yes, that would be amazing. As I said, he can sound very much like his dad. He looks so much like his dad. Put him in a wig. I don't know if anybody's seen the picture that he took once of him in a third Doctor's costume with a wig. It looked amazing. So, yeah, I would love that. I think he has said publicly, though, that he doesn't want to take on his dad's role, that he just doesn't feel comfortable doing that, which is fair enough. I think it's a shame, because we've had lots of other people take on, their parents' roles. We've had, obviously, Sadie Miller and taking on her mum's role and various other ones. So I think it would be good, but he's also a very busy actor these days. He's got quite a good career going, so he doesn't exactly need the work either. Doctor Who's Magical Entertainment says, what about having David Bradley as the first Doctor, Michael Troughton as the second Doctor and Culture? Oh, did I read that one? Was that the same one as earlier? Oh yeah, also David Bradley could come back. Yes, I didn't address that. I would like to see him back. Big Finish seem to be replacing him now or something, which is a shame because I thought he was really good in those, but I would like to see more of David Bradley. How old is David Bradley? He's quite old, isn't he? David, I'm going to look him up. David Bradley, he's 79. Oh, he might have another good 10 years left in him. No, I want to predict when everybody might die. Richard E. Grant could fill in for John Hurt as the War Doctor, says Doctor Who's Magical Entertainment. I had a story idea once that I thought they should do, and I came up with this like 10 years ago or something, when the Time War stuff was still going on, and I thought there could be something where time got changed and we saw the changes happen, but it's kind of from the companion, whoever was the companion's perspective, and in front of their eyes, whoever is the current Doctor changes into Richard E. Grant, because Richard E. Grant was, of course, the Ninth Doctor in the web animation The Scream of the Shauka. So it would be kind of like time has changed and suddenly things shift and we've got that version of the Doctor for like one episode, a special or something, and they're trying to put time right again, and that's how we then get back to the Doctor, whoever that is that we've got. But we have, that version of the Doctor. That would be quite fun. Stylish One says, how was Sean Pertwee in real life? He was a delight. He was lovely. Lovely man. It was quite a few years ago now. Probably around about 2014, something like that. Lucia says, with Capaldi, the weird thing that is weird with him being not keen on multi-Doctor specials is he did Twice Upon a Time, and his eyebrows was in... Yeah, he's been in 2 multi-Doctor specials himself, technically. So, but I'm guessing he didn't get much of a choice in that, and maybe he thinks that's part of the reason. He's been in 2 already. He shouldn't do another one soon, possibly. Well, thanks, I still don't know how to pronounce this. Virians. I suppose that's meant to sound a bit like virus, isn't it? Because they go around destroying viruses. That's who Charlie was with in her spin-off, but she did escape from them. Spoilers. And Lucia, Lucia says, entertain. Wait, no, she's talking to somebody else in the chat. I won't read out that. You're having a chat between yourselves. That's fine. You do that. Charlie Thomas, hi, says Russell T. Davis said in the writer's tale that he would have cast Russell Tovey as the 11th Doctor. Could he be a choice for the 14th Doctor? Maybe. I mean, he's been in it before as other characters, but that hasn't stopped people casting. So has Peter Capaldi. So has Colin Baker. They've cast Doctors that have been in it before, so he could be. Maybe. He's a good actor. I like him. I liked him in, is it called Being Human? The vampire werewolf thing where he played a werewolf. He was good in that, and was amazing in Years and Years. Russell T Davis, Years and Years. So, yeah, he'd be alright. Yeah, I think he'd probably be very good, in fact. He's not one that comes to my mind as somebody that I would fan cast, but I'm sure he would be fine. So there we go. That's kind of what I was going to talk about with the 60th anniversary. We've kind of gone on 40 minutes about that almost. So that took up a lot. I'm only planning on going till about 9:30 tonight. So we better get on with some of the other segments. Let's talk about Star Trek Picard. I'm not going to stay on this very long, so if you're not a Trekkie, don't worry. If you do, however, want to avoid anything about the new series of Star Trek Picard, because I know it's not on Amazon UK until tomorrow, so then I understand if you would like to pop out for 5 or 10 minutes while we talk about it. And then if you want to come back and talk about Peacemaker or anything else, or potentially, one thing I wrote down to potentially speak about, very out of my usual wheelhouse, Neighbours getting cancelled. Might talk about that if there's time at the end. It's still pop culture. It's still kind of within the remit, but I usually talk about more geeky pop culture. But who knows? If there's a better spare time at the end, I might. But Star Trek Picard started today in the US. Brand new series. And I've got to say, it's one of my favourite season openers we've had of the modern era of Star Trek. It's still, I'm not, like, my favourite of the modern era Star Trek shows is actually Lower Decks, which is hilarious. And I love it, the animated one. And Star Trek Picard Season 1 was good, and I liked a lot of it, but it had a lot of weaknesses too, I think. I'm hoping even in the first episode of this, it seems to have dealt with some of the criticisms Season 1 seemed to have gotten. So that's good. It starts off with an amazing scene of action. It goes straight in with the action, and we don't really know what's going on. We're a bit disorientated. And I think it was a really good pacey way to start before going into, because Picard is a much more slower, less action heavy show than something like Star Trek Discovery. Oh, somebody asked earlier about Star Trek Discovery Season 3. Season 4 even. I will briefly deal with that now. I think it's okay. They are repeating the trends of previous... When I say this, I mean their story arcs, pretty much every season since Season 2 onwards have been, there's a mysterious object out in space, a mysterious anomaly. We don't know what caused it. Let's go investigate. And they're kind of doing that again, which initially I was very much like, no, I'm a bit bored of this now. Can you do something different? But fair play to them. They have made it kind of interesting. The last couple of episodes have been a bit slow and a bit dragging their feet. Like they don't want to get to the end. Like they're just trying to pad it out a bit. But I have liked it. And there's some interesting new characters as well. So that's all I'll say on Star Trek Discovery. You can go watch my reviews of it that I've had up all season if you want to know more. But Star Trek Picard, yeah, it started really good. There's some exploring, seem to be exploring some themes of Picard's love life in this, which is interesting. I said I wasn't going to do too many spoilers, so I won't go into it too much. But they seem to be talking about how he feels, maybe feels lonely, how he hasn't settled down with anyone. That seems to be a theme that is in this. And actually, as I watched Jessie Gender's review of this episode just before I did this stream, and one thing that she mentioned, which also I wondered about, is like, if this is going to be a theme, how have they not mentioned Beverly Crusher? You know, that is Picard's kind of real lost love. You know, in alternate futures, he marries her, that we saw in TNG. You know, they obviously have this very close attraction that we see throughout TNG. And, you know, maybe we're going to get her in future episodes. And I kind of hope we do, because I like it when they bring in some of the TNG lot in. And if they're going to explore his love life and feelings of missing out on things, she's perfect for that plot line. So I really hope they do bring her in at some point. One person they did bring in, and this isn't the spoiler because she's been in all the promo stuff, Guinan from 10 Forward, played by Whoopi Goldberg, is back. And I don't know if she's just going to be in this episode, but he goes to visit her in a bar that she now runs in, was it San Francisco, or was it? No, it was LA. And it's called 10 Forward, of course. I liked that. That was a nice little reference, and it was good to see her again. They did a kind of hand wave, because she's a race that's not meant to age, but obviously Whoopi Goldberg has aged. So they did a kind of hand wavy explanation about how she chose to age, because it freaked humans out that she didn't age, so she chose to age. That's fair enough. And actually, on a similar vein, we do, and again, not really a spoiler because it has been in the trailers, we get Q turn up at the end, who initially turns up and has been John Delancey, who plays Q, has been de-aged. But for a very brief second before he throws in a throwaway line of like, oh, you got old, I will change to look old too. And clicks his fingers, and now he's what John Delancey looks like now. The CGI on the de-aging wasn't the best. But, you know, for the fleeting second that it was on there, it was okay. Oh, I've got a picture for this one, actually, because, oh, no, that's Peacemaker. We don't want Peacemaker yet. We're not talking about him yet. They have new uniforms. Again, Picard Season 1, they introduced new uniforms. They introduced 2 new uniforms because they had flashbacks to Picard in a different uniform, which we'd never seen before. And then they had the current day Starfleet uniform. And now, this set, less than a year later? Again, whole new uniform. How many times does Starfleet need to change its uniform? It's always been a bit like that because, with the Next Generation to DS9 to later movies and later DS9, they went through 3 costumes in quite a quick succession, you know, timeline-wise. But there were kind of reasons for that in universe, and it didn't quite feel as egregious. But here, I mean, it was bad enough that they were getting a new costume, new uniform for every series that was all set quite close to each other. But here, you've got it's like a year later, and they can't have had the other one for that long. So, I mean, the timeline is getting very cluttered with different uniforms. I will say I do like this uniform better than the previous current uniform of Picard, which had the little, dip. I can't see me because of my microphone. It had a little, dip in the colour bit there. And this is kind of like an inverse of the Lower Decks uniform, because it's got the same shape as the Lower Decks uniform, the same basic design as the Lower Decks uniform, but in the Lower Decks one, the top stripe of where it's yellow on Raffi's there is black, and the yellow would be the rest of it in the Lower Decks uniform, but here it's reversed. But other than that, it's basically the same uniform as the Lower Decks uniform. So obviously they decided, which is, you know, Lower Decks is set 30 years before this or something, 10 or at least 10 years before this. I can't remember the exact timeline, but something like that. So there you go. That's the uniform there. I like it. I just wish they wouldn't change it so much. They did do a really good job of reintroducing everyone, I thought, in this. They all the characters from last season. I was wondering how they were going to bring them back together, because they, you know, but they all are in their separate places, and they did a really good job of introducing them organically. Raffi's back in Starfleet. So is Rios. He's back in Starfleet. He's now the captain of the USS Stargazer, the new USS Stargazer, which is, of course, the original Stargazer was Captain Picard's ship before he got the Enterprise. So there's those connections there. You've got Seven of Nine has Rios's old ship and is still doing her Fenris Ranger stuff. And they all kind of converge on this event, which happens in this episode. So that's quite exciting. I won't talk about the ending because I don't want to spoil anything, but it was, I thought it was quite good where they were going, how they kind of, because the ending is the beginning of the episode, basically, how the climax, the exciting thing at the end, it then goes back 48 hours earlier, and you see the lead up to what got them all to that position. So that was quite nice. I thought it was a good way to frame the episode. Raffi, and at the end of the last season, Raffi and Seven had a hand-holding moment, and it was hinted at that they might have some kind of attraction to each other. They'd only just met, I think, like a few hours before, but they had some kind of attraction. And there's a discussion between Picard and Raffi. I think it might actually be during this scene that I've got up on here, where he's asking, they're talking about it, and it sounds like Raffi kind of wants a relationship, but Seven is too dedicated to her cause with the Fenris Ranger, so it hasn't really worked out. There is an audio drama which is set in between the two seasons about these two and their relationship, which I haven't got around to listening to yet. A full cast audio drama. I'm quite excited that Star Trek is doing those. Not made by Big Finish, but made by I don't know, Penguin Books or someone like that that have done this. And so I'm looking forward to listening to that. It's a shame Big Finish didn't get the license, really, because they have done Star Trek audiobooks before. Big Finish have. They what are they called? Can't remember what they were called. But there's a series of like 3 audiobooks that Big Finish did that were Star Trek ones. But I'm guessing they did not get the license for that. So yeah, I've enjoyed this. It was an exciting episode and a really good, interesting start to the episode, especially the story arc stuff, where they're going, because John Delancey turns up at the end and everything changes. And you think something's going to happen, and then they're somewhere they didn't think they would be. And basically, I mean, if you've seen the trailer, I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say that they're in some kind of alternate timeline. And I'm guessing Q sent them there because he turns up at the end and says the trial is not over. So I liked him. I always like Q, but he had his kind of jokey, jovial nature, but he was also quite menacing. As like, he turned on the menace at one point, and it was actually sent chills down me. So that was really good. And yeah, overall, I just thought this was a really good start to the episode, to the season even. I hope they keep it up. I think I don't mind it being a more slow-paced show than Discovery, because we've got Discovery for the really hard action, but obviously there needs to be some action in this, and there was in this episode, both at the start and at the end. But I'm quite okay with Picard being a more cerebral show, one that is a bit more slow-paced and a bit more talking. That's fine. I'm quite up for that. And I think we're probably going to get a lot more of that. So, yeah, and they're going to time travel. Again, this is from the trailers, so not massive spoilers. We know they're going to time travel to like 2024, so like 2 years' time. So not quite present day, but almost. And yeah, I liked it. What do people think of Star Trek Picard Season 1? Did people like it? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments if you're watching this on playback. And yeah, that's probably, I think, all I have to say about Star Trek Picard. So let's move on. And I'm just going to check the chat. Did anybody say anything about Star Trek while I was doing that section? I don't think they did. If you're waiting, look, I've turned the picture off now. It's safe to come back if you had me on mute for the Star Trek chat. Not that you'll be able to hear this. Lucia says, I've never seen Star Trek. I'm in the UK. I wanted to check it out. Would it be best to start on Series 1? Series 1 of what? There's so many Star Trek series. There's Star Trek, the original series. To be honest, wouldn't start there. It's the 60s one. So it's a very different show to everything else. So it's not that it's not good. I really enjoy it, but it won't give you a flavour of what majority of Star Trek is, really. So that's the one with Kirk and Spock, the original Kirk and Spock and stuff. TNG, I wouldn't watch Picard without watching TNG, The Next Generation. Sorry, I shouldn't use abbreviations. You might not know what I'm on about. I wouldn't watch Picard without watching The Next Generation, because there are a lot of references back to it. But the first season of Next Generation isn't good. Gets a lot better, and some of the episodes, once you're into season 3 and 4, you're getting some absolutely stellar Star Trek episodes. But the first season is terrible. There's some really bad. There's a couple of gems in there, but most of it's really bad. So don't judge it on season 1 if you do start watching TNG. My favorite of the series is Deep Space Nine. That's a very serialized show, but still one of the 90s ones. Kind of has a few little links in with The Next Generation, but nothing that you would absolutely need to start watching it. So if you like serialized drama, and it's very much, especially in the later seasons, sort of a serialized war drama. So if you like the idea of that, start there. Star Trek Voyager is very much kind of, even though it's of that era, it's kind of its own. You can watch that without much reference to anything previously. So you could start with Star Trek Voyager. It's difficult to say where to start with Star Trek, really. I don't know. What do people think in the chat? Where's the best place to start with Star Trek? The modern stuff is Star Trek Discovery, but I see the way it was framed as it's a prequel to the original series, but also it contradicts a lot of the original series. But I do also think it relies, especially that first season, of you having a lot of knowledge of Star Trek already. It wasn't the best start to that show either, and that has gotten better as it goes on as well. But the first season, again, a bit ropey. You'll find this with a lot of Star Trek shows, actually. First season of Star Trek shows, often quite ropey. The exception is Lower Decks. Amazing. That is the animated one. And it's kind of got the animated humor in the style of Family Guy. And it's written by one of the guys from Rick and Morty. So if you've ever seen that kind of animated, quirky humor type style, but set in the Star Trek world. And it's very funny, but it, again, has a lot of references back to previous stuff. I don't think so much so that you wouldn't enjoy the humor anyway, but you'll get something extra about it if you watch the other Star Treks first, I think. As I said, Star Trek Picard, you want to watch TNG first, really, The Next Generation first. Yeah, it's a difficult one. I'm not sure. Where should people start with Star Trek? Stylish one. You're talking to Will Newlands. I'll let you continue that. I won't read out chats between people. So that's Picard. Star Trek Picard. What did you think of it? Let me know. Next, I'm just going to talk about this very briefly because I absolutely loved it. Peacemaker, the spin-off of the Suicide Squad. James Gunn, written and directed. He wrote and directed the Suicide Squad. He wrote and directed this. It's a DC Comics TV series, and it's fantastic. And I would not have expected this going in, even though I love James Gunn's work. He is the director and writer of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, if you've ever seen those. So I knew I loved his humor beforehand, and that's why I knew I would eventually see the Suicide Squad. I didn't intend to see the Suicide Squad in the cinema, but I didn't get around to it. Never mind. But I eventually just got it on DVD and have watched it last week. And so I knew this series had been out in America. Don't think it's out in the UK yet, anywhere legitimately. But it's 8 episodes, miniseries kind of thing. And I wouldn't have, even after watching the Suicide Squad and really enjoying the Suicide Squad. This is the second Suicide Squad movie. So not Suicide Squad, The Suicide Squad. Very different. The first Suicide Squad movie, just called Suicide Squad. When did that come out? 2017, something like that. Bad film. Very bad film. The Suicide Squad, directed by James Gunn, came out 2020, I want to say. Amazing film. Go watch that one. There are like 3 characters which carry over, and one of them dies in the opening scene. So you don't have to have seen the bad one to understand the first one. You can watch this one completely independently. And then, so even after that, when I'd heard that they were doing this spin-off of this character who was in the Suicide Squad, Peacemaker, who is a guy who loves peace and will kill any amount of men, women, and children to achieve it. I thought, yeah, maybe it might be all right, but I'm not that fussed. Why? I've never heard of him before, and yeah. But you know what? It is absolutely fantastic, and if you get the chance to, I recommend watching it. Do watch the Suicide Squad first, because a lot of the impetus for his character development comes out of something that happens in that film. But it's just so good. It's funny, but also it deals with some quite pertinent issues, and so it kind of deals with some serious issues, but in a really interesting way, using humor, and character growth. This guy starts as the most annoying douchebag ever. He is very unlikable, and nobody likes him. But he does grow throughout it, and you get the midpoint, you're feeling sympathy for him. By the end of it, you're liking him. It's really good. And it used him as a character, and especially his relationship with his abusive dad, to explore some quite interesting themes like toxic masculinity. Not masculinity. I'm not Sean Connery. Masculinity and white supremacy, because his dad in this is a white supremacist. So it deals with those quite serious issues, but it contrasts the seriousness with comedy that is just on point, and character development that is so good and feels natural, even in this bizarre, weird world that they inhabit, where, in the movie, they fight a giant starfish in the Suicide Squad movie. Here, they're fighting other weird alien things. It's really good. The redemption arc of him is fantastic. The arcs of the other characters is brilliant. And it's very funny. It's James Gunn's humor. If you like the humor in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, think that, but expanded and let loose, because it's that, but ruder. Definitely a lot more sweary, a lot more sex jokes in there. And even the sex jokes, which, in other places might feel really crude, because of the type of characters they've built up here, and because of the growth they go through, and how they're even called out on some of the jokes within it, it just kind of works. It's really, really good. It's a really interesting series and funny series. And it has the best opening title sequence ever. I think you can probably Google it. It's a dance number with Peacemaker and all the other characters to a song by a group called Wigwam called Can You Taste It? And I've just been listening to that song on repeat. And you know what? I'm quite tempted to learn the dance and do a video or something, because it's just absolutely brilliant. Look up the opening title sequence. It will give you an idea of the kind of bonkers nature of it. So yeah, I really liked that. It's been renewed for a season 2 already, so I'm looking forward to whenever that comes out and where they go with it now. Because it was kind of, again, I don't want to do any spoilers, but they kind of changed by the end of it, the dynamics have changed. Just trying to imagine where they would go with it in the future is quite interesting. If you've seen it, let me know what you think of it in either the comments below. If you're in the live chat now, you can chat that on the live chat. But Lucia says Peacemaker sounds interesting. I've not seen it either, but I've seen the most recent Suicide Squad, which was good, so I might check it out when I have the time. Oh yeah, and when I was watching the Suicide Squad, I was like, this is the guy they made the spin-off for? Because it feels really weird that this guy would be the spin-off character. Because in the Suicide Squad, I don't know, you don't really have any empathy for this guy. But actually, that, I think, was part of the key that makes this good, because he starts off in a position that you need the character development for, and then the show gives it to him, and gives it to him amazingly. So yeah, do check it out. Tom Mason says, how do you watch this in the UK? I couldn't possibly say. You basically, anyway, that you might watch American shows in the UK that you don't, that aren't on in the UK. I suggest starting with looking into VPNs. That would be a good place to start if you want to watch it. Not that I'm advocating VPNs for anything illegal, only perfectly legal stuff. But anyway, so that's Peacemaker. I really liked it. I can't wait to season 2. I binged it in like 2 days. I watched half the episodes one day and half the episodes another. It was so good. And actually, going back to me saying, like, I wouldn't have thought this would have worked, and I wasn't particularly excited about it beforehand. James Gunn actually, and I retweeted it. I don't know if I can get my Twitter up. I did retweet this because James Gunn had a tweet about people like, potentially like me, that said this, that like, or people that maybe even more strongly said, you know, why are they making this? Nobody wants this. Very sarcastically. I'll try and find it up on it. I won't be able to bring it up on screen, but I will find it on my phone and I'll read it out, what he said, because it was a very good reply, I thought. Here we go. So he said, in reply to, yeah, it was only for people to say who asked for this, yeah. And he said, no one asked for Sopranos. No one asked for freaking Star Wars. When Hollywood only tells stories the public is asking for, the chances of being surprised and delighted are minimized. No one asked for Peacemaker, and that makes me all the more prouder that it touched so many of you. And that's kind of how I feel about it as well. This stream was sponsored by Surfshark, says GSAM 2021. Well, NordVPN in my case. That's they don't sponsor me, but that is who I use. If NordVPN want to sponsor me, I'm more than welcome, more than happy to take sponsorship from NordVPN. I do genuinely use them. Cool. So that's kind of it, and I've gone a bit over what I wanted to. I was going to go to 9:30. I'll briefly mention Neighbours, because I said I might. Neighbours is ending. Neighbours, the Australian soap opera, is ending. It's pop culture. I'm going to cover it briefly, because I did used to watch Neighbours when I was a kid and a teenager. I used to watch Neighbours, and at one point, I even used to watch the repeat of Neighbours on UK Gold, which were from like 5 years earlier, and I used to tape them. So there was a period that I would watch it, where it's sort of around where Carl and Susan, if you watch Neighbours, where Carl and Susan came into the show, and you got Toadie and all those sort of characters. So I wasn't there for the beginning in the 80s. It was kind of like early 90s was when I was like peak Neighbours watching. So it's sad that it's ending after 37 years. I really hope that the one thing I'll say about, I'm not going to go on about Neighbours much, but I really hope they get lots of old cast back in it. I think the guy that played Harold is back in it. The guy, I think they've announced a couple of others, and I know they're going for Kylie Minogue and Jason Donovan, and I really hope they get them in there for that final episode. It was really weird, because I don't watch it now. Well, I did watch one episode the other week. Do I still have my old VHSs of Neighbours? Maybe in my parents' loft somewhere. I don't know. Not to hand, anyway. What was I saying? Oh, yes. I do know that the daughter of their characters, because their characters got married, left the show, and the daughter of their characters came into the show, but they never returned. Even when their child, the character's children, got married. they didn't come to the wedding, which I thought was a bit odd. You know, Kylie could have come over for her on-screen daughter's wedding, surely, but no. So hopefully Kylie Minogue might just be in the final ever episode of Neighbours. But there we go. Thank you guys for joining the stream today. It's been lovely having you all here and providing me with some things to talk about in the chat, interacting and all that. I'll be back next month, hopefully, assuming my laptop is back by then. I hope it's not going to be gone for more than a week or two. Next month for another live stream where I will talk about anything that pop culture wise that comes into my head that I've been watching that week or hearing about that week or even just have thoughts on. So join me then. Do I remember Sky? Oh, Sky Mangle. Chris Bailey, are you talking about Neighbours? Sky Mangle in yes, I remember her. And her dad was played by Mark somebody who then came over here and was on like The Big Breakfast, a presenter and stuff, and was a stand-up comic as well, but I can't remember his name now. There we go. Anyway, yes. So yeah, I'll be back next month for another live stream. Please do join me then. Thank you for watching. I'm going to end the stream